Well, hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're all doing good tonight. Just gonna pop in real quick and say hello. Um, it's another basis born day. I had a couple in production. Now this one's not quite as far along as the one I showed you guys yesterday. This one is in its kind of first assembly stage. I do this with all of my bases. I'll put a few coats of finish on it, get it fully assembled, dialed in, tuned up, fret job, everything. The neck and everything is exactly the way I want it, but I haven't done like a final level and polish on the finish and everything and all that because right now, excuse me, I'm a little burpy. Right now it's really easy for me to make a ding or two while I'm in here farting around with it. And make sure it's repaired before the final finish goes on. You know, I have a really big deal, you know, with my ADD brain that I have to spend some time with these before I can call it soup. So that means that it's going to be prone to getting bumped off of shit, which I will do. I'm 56 and these readers aren't because I see perfectly. So it may get tapped on a couple of things here and there, which you guys can already see. I've already done. Let me see if I can just get one of them in there right at the right angle on there. And anyway, you probably can't see it because they're pretty fine anyway, but I have a couple of bumps and bruises on this, which will be really easy to repair after I get through this testing process. Now, why aren't you guys hearing this tonight? Well, I have used this Fishman Fluence set in a couple of other bases, and I still haven't completely gone through all the wiring to make sure it's 100% complete, so I don't want to plug it in tonight. But I wanted to show you guys where this is. It's set up amazingly well. The neck profile on this is very, very similar to the base that I showed you guys last night. There you go. That one right there. There you go. That one. Very, very similar profile. And it's the same body shape. So this is the 969 GT Grand Touring. And what makes it a GT? Double cut. That's it. So between the other one, the single cut, and this, that's the difference, is just the double cut. Otherwise, the offset on this is pretty similar. And I find it really, really comfortable and pretty nice to look at. And I wasn't really expecting to do this top either. I had done this as was going to be kind of a plain maple top, just a nice clean top. You can see there's a little bit of figuring in there, but it was going to be natural. And when I sealed the inside of the electronics cavity, this maple was just porous enough that a little bit of the color that came off of the brush came through the front of this. And that pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at it and I was like, fuck me. That's crazy defeat. You know, I mean, you get all the way through this process, you build this body. I had already done the body carve and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing is beautiful. And then I go and I put a little bit of sealant on the inside of the goddamn electronics cavity, and next thing you know, it's fucking ghosting on the front. So I have this beautiful piece of clean maple with a few, you know, figure in it, a little bit of figure in it, and some ugly, shitty fucking stains on the front. I had a fucking heart attack. So I'm like, all right, well, how do I fix this? And I'm like, all right, well, you know, maybe there's something we can do with it. It's a pretty enough piece of wood. So I cleaned it up a bit and got out the stains and did this burst. And honestly, I thought I was going to throw this fucking thing away. I really did. I didn't think that this thing was coming back from that because it was so ugly. You guys, you should have seen it. It had this like greenish tint. It just looked like shit. And it was pretty defeating, you know, in the moment, you know, just with everything else, because the body, this mahogany is really, really pretty. It's from that same stick of wood that a couple of these other bases came out of. And it's, you know, so it's lightweight, nicely figured. Beautiful, right? I mean, it's gorgeous. And then the front just had this fucking shitty, stainy fucking piece of wood. So now I wasn't going to throw away the whole thing. What I was going to do is I was going to throw it through the thickness planer and just, you know, just carve away the stain and stuff and glue a new top on it. And I got that black stain on here, cut it away a bit, worked on it, put kind of a wash in here in the middle, right? So you guys can see it ends up being more like a silver burst. And man, I didn't know I was going to like it this much. I mean, not even like it. I didn't know I was going to love it this much. It's to me that's just beautiful. And I showed it a bit last night. I did an Instagram post last night, and everybody seemed to agree that it's kind of pretty. And yeah, when you see the figure, and I know the video doesn't do it a lot of justice, right? But when you see it in person, there actually is a nice little bit of flaming in there. It's not overstated. It's there. It gives it a bit of character. God damn, I love this. You know, and the neck was the same kind of victim. You know, I mean, the reason that this neck ended up kind of stripy or more stripy than this was because of the binding. This neck was originally cut with the Padauk binding as well as those two outside strips, right? So that beautiful orange from the Padauk was just going to wrap right up against it, right up against the outside of the neck, you know, and it really framed the that pale moon ebony really nicely. I was really happy with it. And then, you know, I started working with it and it just started falling apart, you know, it just chipped away, you know, and it wasn't from the same piece of the neck, you know, so don't get crazy, you know, that the piece in the neck here is playing strong, but the pieces that I had cut, just had a few places in it where it just wasn't working. And, you know, a few little chunks came out. I wasn't happy with it. I said, you know what, fuck it. So, I ended up hanging this neck up on the wall for months. And I mean, look at it. I didn't want to just get rid of it. It's just too pretty, right? It's nice. And that center strip of maple just is gorgeous. So yeah, so I just, you know, I tend to get really frustrated with stuff like this. And in the past, I've actually taken a neck and I walked out to the trash can. I threw the neck in the trash can and I just was like, that's it. If I was afraid if I hung it on the wall and let it percolate for a while, that it would just taunt me, you know? So I had to kind of come to grips with that for a while. So this is one of those necks where I did that, where I was like, you know, that Padauk on the binding just didn't work, just came apart. And instead of trashing it, I was like, all right, well, let's give it a chance. Let me think about what I can do with it. I had a couple really nice pieces of this maple. And I said, well, maybe that's it. You know, maybe turn the entirety of the fretboard something a bit brighter. You know, rather than being framed by something a bit darker. Maybe see what the pale moon ebony looks like with that really light maple finish. And I mocked it up and played with it a bit, and I was like, you know, it actually looks really good. And then the question was, because I originally also planned a black mother of pearl for the markers. And I was like, you know, after I saw this with a maple and saw just kind of how good the whole combination looked, it made a lot more sense. And I decided, okay, let's do that. So this base has really progressed over the last maybe even more than a year, from something that I pictured in my head to something completely different. But now that I see really, really clearly, you know, and see exactly what it was supposed to be, and also with my newfound love of making brass nuts. I mean, that's what you end up getting with that too. Is it hung around long enough to get another upgrade, which was that brass nut, and it looks great. It really does look great. I'm really happy with where that came out, and yeah. And this is one I didn't end up doing a back plate or a front cap on or anything, just because I I really like the way that stripe looks. And of course this pale moon ebony is really gorgeous. And yeah, that yeah, you can see it. So if you get really, really close there and take a look at that 12th fret where I have that block, you can see a little bit of, you know, I mean, you can see it's a little bit darker back there, right? Well, from back here, what you can't tell is that used to be an inlay, that S inlay. And when I originally cut this fretboard, I had a problem with and that's originally why I got shelved. When I originally cut the radius on this fretboard, the bit on the router I was using to cut the radius slipped, and it cut the fretboard too deep. So yeah, I was like, ah, shit. So I had to take the whole thing down a lot lower, and it completely cut out where I had the S logo in there. And I was like, well, shit, only part of it existed. I couldn't take it down any further to get completely rid of it. So I was like, ah, fuck, what am I gonna do? So I just like, all right, well, I'm gonna cover it. I mean, it is what it is. Does it take away from it? I don't know. You decide. If that's something that you can't live with, then this is not the base for you. If you hear it and hear the way it sounds, and you pick it up and you decide, you know what, it doesn't bother me. I think it's good enough to make music. Then that's awesome. I'm glad. It's not like I'm going to be charging a premium for this one anyway. I mean, I know exactly what this is and what it's gone through. So yeah. But I love the Fishman Fluence pickups in this. This is another brass bridge from Stumac. It's great. These are ebony knobs. I may still do a treatment. You guys may have seen the other bass that I have that has the brass and turquoise for dots on top of the markers, and I may do that here still as well, because I did do the turquoise and brass side dot markers. That's gonna be a little tough because I'm getting a little bit too much glare off of that, but maybe you can see that. But it came out really pretty, and I'm very excited about how it came out. This is actually a Wenge stack on the back of the neck there. That's what got me up to the height for this particular bass. That was another thing too. This neck was not originally made for this bass. This neck was supposed to go on something else. Actually, I think it was supposed to go on. It was supposed to go on this bass here. This was the first Pale Moon ebony neck that was supposed to go on this bass, and when I started running into a few issues with the neck here, just in the way I wasn't getting the thickness out of it that I wanted, and just a couple other things. And of course, yeah, I mean, I already told you guys about what happened at the top, right, when I was cutting it down. So that's basically what happened here. Is it got too thin for me to be able to use for the space. So this was the backup neck for that bass, and I mean, it's a winner. It suits it. Looks beautiful, but yeah, that's how we ended up with this one on here, and I love it. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. It is thinner and faster, definitely. I can't remember the numbers on this, but it's pretty close to like 800 here at the first fret, and again, it's very, very flat, if not even maybe slightly tapered thinner towards the top end. But again, because I honestly have found, like, my Rickenbacker was probably the most comfortable bass I'd ever personally played. It was a 4001, sorry, 4003S. And it was like dead flat. And a much different radius here as well. But I've also found that I do like the 16-inch radius. I find it very comfortable to play, but I like the 10s too. I'm not gonna lie, for stuff. So, but that bass kind of gave me a sense for, well, what feels really good for me anyway, and I've kind of mirrored that here. And what felt really good on this one was just going slightly taper. So I think I'm actually at like an 820 at the top at the first fret, and right around like an 800 even at the 12th fret. So it does get slightly slimmer, but I think that the way that your hand feels as you're going across it from this round, thin 1.5-inch knot here down to, very wide, almost 2.5 inches wide here at the 12th, the way that it flattens out, maybe tapers to just slightly thinner, I find it really, really comfortable. And I think if you're the kind of player that likes to be down at this end of the board as well, I think you're going to find it really, really comfortable. And I did do a really nice cut there for you, so that again, if you spend time up here, this should be very, very comfortable for you. You can see I don't have big hands. I have pretty average guy hands, right? So I'm 5'10", 5'11", in that neighborhood. My hands aren't huge. So if you have average player size hands, you can see you got pretty good coverage there. If you have large hands, you are not going to have any trouble getting around this board, even a little bit. So, and yeah, and yeah, it's quite a big difference too. So like if you go, if you start over here, this is the same cut as this one. And then the ash top is just a bit thicker. Kind of think more like 70s jazz bass or 60s jazz bass, actually. 70s jazz bass, probably closer to. And then this cat right over here, the Wenge, that is definitely your baseball bat, right? This is early jazz bass style neck, right? It feels chunky in your hand. It's super comfortable. I think it's pretty comfortable. You know, I tell you though, compared to the other ones though, I mean, I prefer a slimmer neck. I'm not gonna lie, or actually right in between. The one that I go to every single day when I want to just play is the ash top here, and it's really right in between this kind of thin, faster neck and the old chunky monkey there on the Wenge top bass. And it's funny because I've talked to different folks and you know, everybody's got their own opinion. So you pick it up and you're just going to jive with it or you're not. Cool. So this one in particular, though, let me just go ahead and give you a quick walk around and we'll go ahead and wrap it up here after it's been a while here. But this is the Fishman Fluence pickups. This is just the soap bar pickups, the multi-voice. So 3 different positions there for the voicing. So we have the volume, blend, tone, and bass. It's pretty typical to see the bass boost and cut farthest away. A lot of players, if you're like me at all, you're going to kind of find a place in it that's comfortable and you're going to leave it there. But you're going to play a little bit with the tone and with the blend for sure. And I love this blend knob. This is, again, the Toko spots that I really loved and I've talked to you guys about before. They feel wonderful, and that detent in the middle is very, very positive. The volume also has push-pull, so you guys can see there. When you pull it out, that's splits the coil, so we have single coil. And right now I have it set to completely forward and completely back. And I might actually change it because the measurement here on the front coil, and it's a simple change on the back end of this, when I split these, would actually put the front coil and this front coil very, very close to what you'd have in a jazz bass. You know, either pick your poison, 60s or 70s. It's kind of about in between of those. So I was like, you know, that would be kind of fun rather than having it very, very wide like that. And I know that this would put it actually pretty close to the bridge. So I think what I'm going to do is get back here and modify this pickup so that it actually picks up this when you split the coil, the front one, and that'll put that almost right at 4 inches. So I think you guys will really like that. And of course the multi-switch. The pickup here is on, the output is here on the front. This one is a, I'll think of it after I go to bed later. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's that one. But it has 2-post stereo because it does have a battery, and this is active setup here with the Fishman Fluence. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to keep those. I'm not going to keep those bolts. It'll be something that's more. I'm playing around with a couple of other 3mm bolts that I use for the covers, but it'll be, and I'll also I'll match this cover to the front as well. And but you guys can see there too. I also use the bolts on this. Those are 5mm bolts. And that's a gold anodized cup washer that they sit in, and they look wonderful against the mahogany body. I love it. I haven't decided what strap locks I'm going to use on this, or strap buttons I'm going to use on this yet. I haven't even drilled the front one yet. We'll get there. That's usually one of the last things that I do. I'll pilot it, you know, ahead of putting on the final finish, but then after I put on the final finish, it's going to clog that hole up, so I'll clean it out. Do the final drill, put in the piece, be nice and clean. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, and don't forget, usually the hip shot ultralight tuners with the clover heads on them. And I haven't decided on the the button here yet for this. I had a round one, but I wasn't in love with it. So I may end up blocking that hole or covering it with something fun and then and doing something else. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I can do whatever I want. It's my bait. But it could be yours for the lower price of whatever I list it for. Mahogany, beautiful. Oh, if you haven't noticed there too, that is two layers. That's a maple veneer and then a black hardwood veneer. That was actually, like I say, it was going to be a natural top, so it would have been nicely contrasted, but instead I ended up staining it, and that made a nice black edge for the edge of the stain. All right. All right, everybody, there you go. 20 minutes, that's plenty. You guys have seen enough, so we will end things here. Have a great night. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to check out the website, solonospeed.com. I'll have this base and that base listed up there at some point this week, and they'll also go up on the Reverb Shop and over on the Gear Exchange at our friends over at Sweetwater, who provide a lot of awesome materials here for us. So big thanks to them.